Hello and welcome to our midday report here on TVP World. My name is Diana Skaya. Polish President Karol Nawrocki has proposed an alternative to the European Union's €44 billion defense loan. He has not disclosed details yet, but mentioned using gold reserves to boost the military. The plan does have some legal hurdles, but the government does seem open to the proposal so far.
The Polish president has long raised doubts about the European Commission's safe loan program. According to him, taking a €44 billion loan from the European Union would mean incurring political risks.
We have come up with a secure and sovereign alternative to the SAFE program, one with no financial strings attached. I like to call it zero-interest SAFE. It will be made possible thanks to Polish investments and gold reserves.
The Polish defense minister, who has framed the European Union's loan as fundamental to the modernization of the Polish army and defense industry, says the president's proposals are interesting.
This doesn't have to be presented as an alternative. It can be a supplement to SAFE. I'm open to discussions and learning the details. These two programs combined and the sum of €90 billion would still not meet all the needs of the military, but thanks to them, we would be able to build Europe's strongest army by 2030.
The president's new plan to financially boost the military, however, has its obstacles.
From the legal point of view, it's not possible, obviously, because the foreign exchange reserve, by constitution, the central bank cannot finance the needs of the government. It would require then a change of the constitution that would allow to use a part of the reserves for this type of the operations.
The governor of the National Bank of Poland says that there are solutions for that, but they require cooperation between the president and government.
There are certain legal challenges we face, but our starting point is well within Polish law, international law, and the rules of the European Central Banking System.
The SAFE loan program is part of the European Commission's plan to boost member states' defensive capabilities by the year 2030. Poland is set to obtain €44 billion as part of the program. The government wants to spend most of that money buying equipment from Polish defense companies. The president is yet to decide whether to sign legislation on the implementation of the program. The government says, however, that it has a plan B, and a potential presidential veto would not stop them from implementing SAFE.
Tensions in the Middle East are spilling over into neighboring regions as Iranian drones strike Azerbaijan and explosions continue across Iran following Israeli and U.S. attacks. The violence has already killed hundreds, while NATO member Turkey intercepted a ballistic missile heading toward its territory. And amid the chaos, European nations are racing to evacuate their citizens.
An Iranian drone strikes an airport in Azerbaijan as the shadow cast by the Middle East war widens. In Iran, multiple explosions were reported across the country overnight as the Israeli and U.S. attacks continue. The Israeli military on Thursday released footage of what it said was the first downing by an F-35I fighter of an Iranian Yak-130 jet. Black smoke rose above the southern suburbs of Beirut as Israeli forces continued their deployment near the Lebanese border. Hamas commander Wassim Atal al-Ali was reportedly killed. This comes as NATO member Turkey's Ministry of Defense announced it had shot down a ballistic missile heading in its direction from Iran. Late on Wednesday, Iran warned it could target Israel's nuclear facility in Dimona should the US and Israel continue their push for regime change in Tehran. As of Thursday morning, figures suggest that more than 1,000 people have been killed in Iran. 6 US soldiers and 9 in Gulf states have also reportedly been killed. Experts say the US is unlikely to send ground troops into Iran.
I guess they will continue with the bombing rather than sending American forces to fight on Iranian soil. I guess that what the Americans will try to do is to find local forces within Iran, around Iran, that can make for them the job.
2 planes that set off from Poland early Thursday are now en route with Polish evacuees to Warsaw and Kraków.
First and foremost, this evacuation will prioritize those who require medical assistance. Additionally, between 1 and 2 p.m., 2 flights will arrive, one in Warsaw and another in Krakow. These will be 2 commercial jetliners with tourists from Dubai. All of these efforts are coordinated through the Foreign Ministry. There will be more flights and additional operational windows are opening as we speak, but safety remains priority number 1.
Spain and Bulgaria also evacuated citizens on Thursday.
We have arrived and we thank God that we are returning home.
I panicked. We had children back home. What can we say? It was difficult, but they were amazing, very well organized.
They were very well organized, very helpful. All the missiles there were intercepted. None fell.
They are the lucky few. Hundreds of thousands of Europeans remain stranded in the Middle East.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says a missile aimed at Turkey does not trigger the alliance's Article 5 mutual defense clause. While NATO does remain vigilant, the focus remains on deterring threats from Iran as the conflict with the U.S. spreads beyond the Gulf. Let's bring in now our defense correspondent who's in Brussels, Zuzanna Jurek. Zuzanna, good afternoon. Now, with the missile incident in Turkey and the conflict expanding now across the region, tell me, please, how is NATO balancing this deterrence without avoiding direct escalation? What more can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you, Diana. I think exactly what you said, which is ongoing deterrence once ensuring that no more escalation takes place. We know that, as you mentioned, NATO is very vigilant when it comes to potentially even evoking Article 5 of the Charter, which is the one which states that an attack against one is an attack against all and would potentially draw the alliance into a broader conflict. We know that the U.S. has previously stated that there is no indication, that was Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense of the country, stating that there is no indication from Turkey that it would be seeking to invoke the article. At the same time, obviously, as you mentioned, the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is also calling for restraint, for ongoing dialogue. But we also have been talking to off-the-record sources, and we know that multilateral discussions are already taking place for potential contingency planning. That does not necessarily mean that the article will be evoked. It just means that ongoing consultations about how to approach this subject matter, how to approach this issue are taking place. But once again, these are multilateral, bilateral, oftentimes discussions. They are not yet taking place at an allied level. At the same time, we have seen responses from individual countries sending reinforcements to the region. For example, you've seen Greece initially send down 2 frigates and 2 fighter jets, F-16 fighter jets, to Cyprus following a strike on the RAF airbase over on Monday. And at the same time, just this morning, we've seen additional reinforcements being pledged. That includes Cyprus, I believe, another NATO member state sending additional reinforcements in frigates, Spain sending additional frigates to the region to ensure that there is an ongoing presence, ongoing bolstered presence that continues to be maintained. But once again, as has been underlined by Secretary General Mark Rutte, this does not mean that this is an operation that is being carried out on an allied level.
Clearly, NATO is not itself involved here. NATO allies are providing key enabling support. What we see here is that NATO, in that sense, is also this power projection platform for the United States, because without European allies, the U.S. would have found it very difficult to launch this campaign against Iran, because we see, you've heard the German Chancellor in the Oval Office and so many others making sure that the U.S. can make use of these key enablers. But we are, other than that, not directly involved. So, but from my conversations with senior American military and political leaders, it's my absolute sense that they know what they are doing. Take out some of the Iranian drones.
Now, as you've heard, there is no sense that this will be NATO's responsibility to get involved in a broader conflict. Nonetheless, it is seeming that the conflict is drawing closer and closer to the alliance. And so when and if push comes to shove, we can expect that strategic communications will play a key role in how the alliance maneuvers through this crisis moment. Diana? Thank
you so much, Zuzanna Jurek, for your report coming to us live from Brussels. As tensions rise in the Middle East, Ukraine says its battlefield experience could now help partners in the region defend themselves against Iranian-made Shahed drones. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says several countries already approached Kyiv for assistance. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Oz Chatterjee, has more.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says that following requests from several countries, Ukraine has decided to task the security and defense agencies in the country with coming up with a plan to send material and experts to the Middle East to help deal with the Iranian drone threat currently targeting several countries, particularly in the Gulf. Now, Ukraine has a lot of expertise in dealing with these threats because Russia has been launching Iranian drones into Ukrainian territory since the start of the full-scale invasion, using those drones to devastating effect against Ukraine's critical infrastructure, and Ukraine has become a world leader in dealing with these specific types of drones. Here's what the Ukrainian president had to say.
Partners are turning to us, to Ukraine, asking for help in defending against Shahed drones, given our expertise and real operational experience. There have also been requests from the American side. In recent days, I've spoken with the leaders of the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan and Kuwait. There will also be negotiations with other regional leaders. We are coordinating with our European partners as well. Of course, any assistance we provide will only be on the condition that it does not weaken our own defence in Ukraine and that it serves as an investment in our diplomatic opportunities. We help those who help us, Ukraine, move closer to a just end to this war. We help them defend themselves.
Now, President Zelenskyy making clear there that any support would not hinder Ukraine's own ability to defend itself. But there is a growing concern here in Kyiv about this war as it's unfolding and the drawing down of stockpiles that Ukraine needs, weapons stockpiles, ammunition stockpiles that Ukraine has been relying on from the United States to help it deal with the Russian threat to Ukrainian territory. There is alarm here and worry that many of these stockpiles will be drawn down by the United States allies in helping them deal with Iranian threats to their particular countries. So there are a finite amount of these resources available, and the Ukrainians will want to make sure that they still have access to them to be able to defend their own territory from these Iranian drones. I'm Oz Chatterjee reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
Iran's conflict with the United States and Israel has led to sporting events being postponed in several countries, while competitions elsewhere have been hit by travel disruption. Thousands of flights have been cancelled in some of the world's busiest transit hubs.
Iran's conflict with the U.S. and Israel has affected a multitude of teams and athletes, including Polish international Krzysztof Piątek, who plays in Qatar. The striker, along with his teammates, is on forced leave after the Qatari Football Association suspended all competitions. The postponement of matches in the country has put in doubt the clash between European champions Spain and world champions Argentina, scheduled for March the 27th in Doha. Iran launched retaliatory missile and drone attacks across the Gulf region, including Qatar, whose air defences intercepted Iranian ballistic missiles and drones before impact. The conflict may also impact this summer's World Cup, after the Iranian Football Federation said earlier this week that the country will likely not participate in the tournament, which the U.S. is co-hosting. Mohammed Ben Sulayem, who heads the global motorsport governing body FIA, said safety will be their main concern when making a decision on next month's Formula One races in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Ben Sulayem said on Monday,
"Safety and well-being will guide our decisions as we assess the forthcoming events scheduled there for the FIA World Endurance Championship and the FIA Formula One World Championship."
Singles winner is
top 20 players Daniil Medvedev and Andrei Rublev, who participated in the Dubai Tennis Championships last week, were among players temporarily stranded in the country, making it difficult for them to reach the Indian Wells Open in California. As the escalating conflict between Iran, the United States and Israel continues to ripple through the world of sports, more cancellations and postponements seem inevitable.
And that completes this edition of our Midday Report here on TVP World. But do stay with us as we keep you updated with the latest unfolding in the Middle East and beyond. Thanks for watching.